my certificates in communications at the CC. Yeah, I just couldn't make it fit with taking Gen Bio for like a
All right.
small groups.
Good morning. Let's go ahead and get started.
Pretty sad.
Today is the final day of presentations for small group communication. We have 7 to get through today, so we'll try to keep things going at a good pace. Thank you all for sending your presentations and work in advance. And let's get going. So just as a quick reminder, today is last day, and after today, we're not meeting for any sort of final exam meeting. I am asking you to turn in the final quiz if you haven't done so by the 19th, along with the extra credit if you choose to do that. And then if you have any outstanding classes that you need to complete makeup assignments for, remember you have 3 absences, anything beyond that, you want to turn that in. And that the 19th is just the hard cutoff for any remaining assignments so that I can submit your final grades on the 20th. So I'll start to enter in your grades for the presentation after today's class. And thank you all for those of you that have presented so far. So this is the schedule that we have for today. So we'll go down in order. Before we do that, a couple reminders with regard to presentation schedule timeline. First of all, again, the way that I do time signals is when 4 minutes has elapsed and you have 2 minutes remaining, I'll do victory sign. 1 minute remaining, right? You've used 5 minutes, you have 1 minute left. Is this? I'll do a fist when you are at time to wrap up your current thought or idea. And I'm asking you to be in that 5 to 6 minute range. If you're not presenting, please take some time to listen and follow along. I pulled up the slides and visual aids. I don't believe that I received them from everybody. So if you missed turning those in, make sure that you have those submitted either to Canvas or through email. If you are presenting today, you just need to do the presentation and listen and be supportive of other folks. But as a reminder, if you are here today and not presenting, I am asking you to let me know with 2 presentations what group the student observed, what stood out to you, how their observations connect to the course. So pick 2 of these presentations to work on for your attendance credit for the day. And then also, as a reminder going back, if you haven't already done so, I gave some time on Monday for completion of course evaluations. Please make sure to take the time by the end of the day today to complete those on Canvas if you haven't already had the chance to do that. So best of luck for those of you presenting today. We will get started with Andrew. So Andrew, I've got your presentation slides and all of that ready to go. All right, and you're welcome to either click or use arrows.
All right.
Sorry, I'm also going to make sure. Just
Sorry.
1 second, real quick. Just make sure that I have the screen share for the thing.
What did you do wrong in the final? I'm sorry, I can't tutor anymore. Anyway, so
All right, sorry about that. There you go.
unforeseen circumstances.
All right, so I'm Andrew. I didn't really sit on a group. I sat for a club. I sat in on a meeting. It's the State of Oregon IERW Initial Entry Rotary Wing Board. It's for the needs of the state to go to flight school. So post-selection, you get to sit in on the board. And those in attendance was 2-star General, Major General Hokanson. He has 24 assignments, which means stations and deployments. 42 awards. He's the entire United States National Guard Aviation General. He's in charge of everybody. Chief Wickenhagen, he's in charge of Oregon itself, and Lieutenant Colonel Wickecombe is in charge of my battalion. So he has a say if you go, he has a say when you go, he has a say if you're in the Army. Some details, what they talked about the different Oregon frames that we fly. We only have 2 frames in Oregon. Then they went up to the National Guard itself, how many frames the entire Army has for the National Guard. It's kind of dumb, but I'm not allowed to say what we have or how many we have or where they are, anything like that. But we do have 2 airframes. I sat in, it was 2.5 hours. Face to face. Beach. The general structure, it's a very rank based. It's pretty easy to see who's in charge, who's not in charge, or kind of when it goes down from there. Why I did it, I'm interested in it. I'm going to be flying these, the Chinooks. Oregon doesn't have any of these. Oregon has these 2 and the Chinook. But that's the why I'm interested in it, and I got selected, so I just sat in on it. And I got the chance to kind of see what the process is and how they choose, who they choose. Also, they're introducing this, so that's kind of why I did it too. That's pretty cool. It's the first time there's a fixed wing actually fighter jet in Oregon, but they're introducing it. What happened? We talked about the needs of the National Guard as a whole, went down the state, went down to my battalion, how much, who they picked. Again, the clear leadership, military ranks in general. It was really structured. We had a set timeline, set breaks. There was a clear, clear decision that they had to make at the end, so we knew what we were talking about the entire time. And locations, it went down to time and date of each individual person that was selected and where they're going. And some of the things we talked about, they gave everyone time to talk. They did checks on learning, which is asking questions back, making sure everyone knows what's going on. And since I was the youngest guy there, with like a 25-year gap in between experience, they broke it down so I understood what they were talking about. And that's pretty much it. They broke it down. Body language, most of the guys have, as you saw, 20 plus stations of deployment. So the body language is very aggressive, kind of. They know who's in charge. Nonverbal cues. If you said something that you weren't supposed to say, you definitely knew. They're not mean, but they definitely have a strict instructions, really structured. They have their timeline, so they like to keep on it. And what did I learn? I learned some stuff we're introducing about how much, how many, and where they're going. So overall, what I'm going into, I kind of just learned like really big picture aspects in it. And yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. I really like the way that you use sort of a visual accompaniment here to kind of talk about, hey, I'm going to be flying in one of these. Here are some of the things that we can expect from the group and its participation. I also like some of the connections at the end, right? Talking about the way that things like body language, nonverbal cues, and this very kind of formal, very organized structure plays into it. Obviously, there's a lot of expectations about behavior, decorum, and so on. That this group should be doing. I thought you did a great job here incorporating that in a relevant way that helps us better understand, sort of the group dynamics in nature. So really good job there in applying and using these ideas in the course to explain what's going on in the group. So thank you. Super informative. All right. So our next presenter for today is Presley. So Presley, I'll go ahead and do some presentation up next. So you can use arrows or left click whenever you are.
Okay, so for my small group observation, I did a lifting club for women. I was in the Boise area and I had the chance to sit in on an old friends group. The age range was between 20 and 25, and then the leader was actually around 27. The meeting was at Axiom Fitness in Meridian, and the date was Thursday at 12 p.m. This was face to face. The meetings are usually Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. There was a total of 4 members and 1 leader. So when I first got in there, like they were kind of just sitting inside, like when you first walk in. So it's kind of informal. There's a lot of people, a lot of distractions, like weightlifters. But the members seem to be comfortable with it. Like they seem to be adjusted to that. Just okay with distractions. She encouraged early arrival for the members, so she could go over like the weights they'd be doing, the lifts. So then she would hand out an agenda. So this agenda had the lifts that were personalized with the different weights each person was using. So yeah, she'd hand these out like with the 10 minutes prior, and then she'd go over the amount of time she think it would take, the machines that were used for that session. And then I also noticed that there wasn't a lot of scrambling around. Like there weren't a lot of questions being asked. Everything was super direct. The leader was a really take charge leader. The members followed and cooperated well due to her knowledge. So she's a personal trainer. So they just did well with like what she was giving them, and they just went well with it and went along with what she was saying. It was a really structured meeting, although it was like there's a lot of people around, like the members of the group really followed along with what was going on. And she actually led the lifts for the women to follow along. So she would go and demonstrate it, and then they would go and do the lifts after her. She gave feedback when necessary, so feedback in terms of like form, if they were doing the lift right or wrong, like maybe if they need to go lower in the squat, so on. So the information gained from this, she did not encourage new members because it is a public gym and she can't have, 6 to 10 people in a group because there's a lot of people in that gym that are using it and it would take up a lot of space. I think she did mention that if she did have her own gym, she would encourage new members. She did cultivate and reinforce trust. So she was committed to the other success, obviously. Like she wanted them to be better. These girls were not very comfortable in the gym to begin with, and that's why they came to her. So just like giving them reinforcement and like, you're doing well, like this is what you can do better, and like I'm seeing progress out of you. She was super direct, not really wishy-washy with her words, just like upfront, like if you need to work on this, let's work on this. Like I said, it was structured, but in an informal way. So yeah, like there's a lot of distractions, but they were used to it and they were always looking forward to like being in that atmosphere. There was good communication between the leader and the members, which was like super evident to me. Like if they had any questions, they would go up to her. If she had questions or just had to say anything to the members, she wouldn't be afraid to just go and do so. In conclusion, I had a really good experience. This is the kind of work I want to get into. My major is exercise science, so personal training is of my interest. I get a lot of new information, just like in ways that you can lead a group, because I never really thought, like when I think of a club, I think of like isolated areas. I think of like just that club and not anyone around. So I don't know, I thought this was kind of a good way, especially if like this is your kind of work area. Like there's a certain way you can lead a group, which is really interesting to me. And yeah.
Thanks, Carly. I really like focusing on the lifting club for women, how you were able to sort of talk about, as you mentioned at the end, that we think about clubs and we think about organizations, so we don't necessarily think about the people in there or the structure or the organization, and that's part of the challenge, right, of this assignment is like really trying to look at how those dynamics shape the group and the ways that people participate. And I thought your observations, about like not really being welcoming to new members for legitimate and kind of logistical reasons, right, was an interesting observation too. That we think about groups as a thing, but groups are this kind of organism where people are working together, connecting with one another, and so on. So I thought you were able to speak really well to the specific methods by which group members connect, and also the way that we're able to relate it to your major and what you do professionally. So I thought that was a really great way to have that really good and clear connection there. So really great work in incorporating that with your team. All right. So we have Millie up next. Oh, I already know.
Amazon, there's like 5 bucks for 70 of them. Sure. You were presentation. We gotta do it for my own presentation, like 400 class. I'll show you a photo where we all have mustaches on with our teacher. It's pretty dope. A plus, crayon report, A plus. Yeah.
So yeah, you're welcome to use the left click.
We love to
Or arrow. Awesome.
So that.
All right, Millie, whenever you're ready.
So my name is Millie. For my small group observation, I observed the INLA FA chapter alumni. This is a group I've worked with a lot in the past, pretty much throughout my entire high school career, being an FA officer and stuff. And my dad currently serves as the vice president in the group, so I kind of had an in there. It took place in the Engler High School Ag Building. They meet 1 to 2 times a month. And this is their average place to meet. It was on February 23rd. It started at 6:30. It was a little later than our normal meetings, but time changed. They covered state convention preparations. State convention, I think, is next week. So back in February, it was a big discussion. They talked about signups for snacks and chaperones. And one of the larger issues was the number of members attending. Typically, there's not 45 students, not including adults, but this year they have a bunch of people going, so they needed to cover that. It was a very relaxed and casual meeting. Everybody kind of knows each other, so the language was really relaxed. Actually, one of the older members brought like a bunch of cookies, and we ate those before the meeting started. They do use parliamentary procedure, however. It's a very lax version, but at least for opening and closing ceremonies, they do cover that. And they do use an officer system, like I said. They have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. For the officers, their president's Laura Miller. She organizes the group and runs all the meetings. She organizes agendas and stuff like that. The vice president is my dad, Joe Fisher. He organizes all the signups and delegations for anything, especially for competitions. He is in charge of judges and stuff like that. Their secretary is Nikki Martin. She takes minutes and shares any old business, new business, things that he covered. And she's also in charge of like the enrollment and stuff. Their treasurer is Amy Patterson, and she organizes the group's financials. For any other members that are in the meeting, I think there was like 16 present, which is a pretty large number, but they just vote, they offer opinions, and they participate in assignments and stuff like that. As for Laura, the president, I noticed that she kind of was a leader as conductor. I mean, they share a common goal of helping the Engler FA chapter. So their common goal brings them all together. But also she's pretty hands-off because it is a group of adults. I mean, I think the youngest person there was maybe in their 30s. So they're all really responsible. They know what they're doing and they go from there. When I was observing the group, I did try to notice anything that would align with what we covered in class. And at first, for like the first 3 quarters of the meeting, I noticed that there might have been a theme of groupthink because everybody was in agreement. There wasn't really any conflict. Anything that was mentioned by somebody, they were like, sure, we'll just go with that. However, at the end, there was a pretty large issue, and not large, but large for what was going on. And they did have to discuss that and solve it. Laura actually made, saying Laura, I've known her for years, but President Laura, she made it a motion and they all voted on it. So I think in the end, they just have a really tight collaboration. They use instrumental reasons and social links because, like I said, everybody knows everybody. As for what I learned, a little conflict is a good thing because at the end of the meeting, I feel like everybody was a little more at peace than they were at the beginning. Knowing your teammates personally can be a difficult thing because that was a large portion of it. The 2 people that were in disagreement, again, know each other for years. It's a really small town, small group, really tight knit. And in more mature groups, leaders can be hands off. I know Laura just kind of directs everybody and they just kind of go from there. She doesn't have to worry about really supervising or taking charge of anything. She just kind of leaves it. That's it.
All right, thanks so much, Millie. I really like this observation you bring out, toward the end here, sorry, this idea of this line between groupthink and collaboration, because there are so many opportunities for groups to work together to deal with complex issues. And as an outsider, it's like, are they using groupthink? Are they unable to collaborate and reach a solution and just kind of doing a feedback loop? Or are they really creating an ability to deal with complex issues? I thought that trying to understand that line and figure out, I thought was two things really collaboration, they have just really good relationship with each other. Was an excellent observation, right? I really enjoyed the specific connections to the course that you had in this presentation. And I thought you had some really great insights there as well. All right.
Does he want the participation at the advanced class? Oh, God. Put chill, my name's on it, you know? I don't see him doing nothing. Oh.
I'm just pulling that presentation up for you guys.
It's kind of cool last night.
All right, so Jack, we have you up next. You're welcome to click here or use the arrows to advance. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, my small group presentation is EOE Women's Soccer Team. And I meet on Saturday, March 26th. There were 3 women's soccer players there. What we talked about was mainly about what happened in the team during the season. We also discussed communication between players and coaches and the scenario with the men's soccer team. Soccer team. So communication between coach and players and what makes good leaders, and then similarly with the men's soccer. So how do you communicate with coach regarding their roles in the group? The basic concept was to basically follow what the coach said, and they were aware that the communication during the game was to communicate with each other, especially with the captain. Same can be said for the men's soccer team. The role in each group changed on and off the field. So what are the important things as a great leader in sports? The word of sport is simple and true. What kind of player can show leadership? Whenever the player who communicates a lot with his teammates during the game, a player who cares about his team outside the game, or the player who is always aware of his surrounding, or even the player who is liked by his coach. One of these are wrong professional things. Challenges. A great leader is a player who is more competent than anyone else. The captain, in the world of sports, said his team many times with his overwhelming abilities, leading team to victory. And the player on his side following him because their morale is boosted by the way he calls behind his back as he stands at front of the pack. This is the reason why the striker Morgan, where the captain mark on the women's team, and she's one of the best players. And why no one on the team is guaranteed and the team is naked. So what is the difference between success and the fair team captains? So I'm going to talk with each other to find the best captain for the women's team. While for the men's team, the player appointed by the coach become the captain. The problem here is that not everyone agree on the captain for the men's team. The coach's view of the players and the players' view of each other are very different. And the coach arbitrary decision on he can sometimes create a lift in the team. In fact, during a season, some player in the men's soccer took their captain seriously, and captains struggle to govern their teams in the games. why the communication is important for soccer. The communication is very important for any situation, but even more so in the sport. Communication between players, between coach, between players and coaches, and so on, is often necessary, especially in soccer, which is team sports. Unlike individual sports such as golf or tennis, there are team tactics. There are not team tactics, which are implemented in the team meeting before the game, and the team must execute the appropriate plan according to the situation of the game. So what are the differences between women's and men's team? So women's team is in the season, they win the 11 games and they lost 6. So men's team, 6 win and 10 lose. So the women's team, like the communication with player and coaches, and there are two-way communication, player and coaches. And the coaches try to understand the players. Otherwise, the men's team is bad communication with player and coach, and one-way communication with coach. He don't want to argue with players. So coach try to control the team, not even only the pitch, like even my normal life. So the problem with communication men's team is coach yell at the player during the game. They lost the focus and then they feel like not good situation. But women's team like try to chilling and the coach is not yelling at them. Like they can talk like normal tone or something like that. So what did I learn through this meeting? Is Paul and Gerard play soccer very differently from each other, even through the players the same game. And this is due to the fact that we were able to compare the way they communicate, the relationship of trust with their coach, and many other things. And we learned that communication is a very important aspect of sports. I can say that it was a great experience for me. That's all. We was also good to be able to look back at the season and talk with each other based on the knowledge we learned in class. Next slide.
Thanks so much, Jack. I thought you did a great job here of sort of offering this contrast between women's and soccer teams in terms of some of the ways they communicate, right? As you highlight here, good communication in small groups is crucial to the success of the group ability to, in the case of a competitive sport, win and be successful. Obviously, there's other factors at play too that might be impacting things like win loss record and all that stuff. But we still see the ability of group members to communicate and work together is really important. So I found that contrast that you offered pretty interesting. I think you did a good job here of talking about some of the ways that small group communication can help us to understand those differences and potential sources of conflict. So really good work here in terms of using these specific ideas from the course and linking them together in a way that I think made a lot of sense. All right, so we are going to keep moving on down the line for our next presenter. So we have Andre up next, and hold up the yes. Yes. So you can use the left click or arrows to move between slides. And whenever you're ready, yeah, we're back.
All right, my name is Andre, and I decided to do the art club just because in high school I was like really involved with art, and I just thought it'd be a fun idea to go check out some of the artists here at EOU. So the agenda changes each week, so it's basically depends on the officers and what they want to do and what sounds fun for the week. They just bounce ideas off each other and choose what they want to do for the week. And with the changing like week to week, they like to switch it up to different type of art forms. So they do ceramic, painting, drawing, screen printing. They do photography too, filming. So just any kind of art form you can really think of. They do an art club. The meeting I attended was 3 to 5 p.m. at Loso Hall on Fridays. And they just chose Fridays because typically for art majors, they don't really have any classes on Fridays. So this time frame just really works for them best. on the meeting I observed, they were doing ceramic bowls for an event they're going to be holding this week, which is date night. So they're making bowls, and then on date night they would come and they design the bowls with a friend or girlfriend, and they come design them, put it in the tin, and then they come pick it up later on in the week. During the meeting, students showed up kind of like all throughout the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, there was a couple students, but by the end, there's like a lot more. So students kind of just flowed in, and as students flowed in, the officers are just filling in with what's going on for the day. If they didn't see the flyer, they just let them know what's going on, set them up with some clay, and then set them at the wheel, and they just start spinning. They also promoted the club by using social media like Facebook or Instagram, and they also used flyers and emails that were sent out to the group members. The environment was really cool. Just everyone was super nice. When I came in, the officers greeted me. They told me what the plan was for the day. They told me I could join in if I wanted to. They gave me a seat to go sit down and I had to observe. So it was really cool. There was like a really cool vibe, like that music going on, and that posters of like just art, and that past students work too. So like people could get ideas of like what type of art they wanted to do, and like just get ideas off of people's what type of art it was each week. I just felt like a good vibe. People were like laughing, having a good time, sharing ideas, just like getting messy, because with like ceramic, it's just super messy. So everyone was getting dirty, but like having fun, you know. So it's cool. Leadership, there are 3 officers and 1 actual member. There's 2, so the 2 members started up the group this year, because over COVID, they kind of just, our club just kind of disappeared. And so they wanted to bring our club back. So 2 of the members started up, and then they ended up adding one of their friends later on as a 3rd member, 3rd officer. And then they have 1 guy, member who joined this year, and he's has been having a good time. It's just him, so just trying to get more people to come. The officers, like I said in the beginning, the officers come up with ideas for the week. They just said they don't really have like a way of coming up with what to do. They just kind of bounce ideas off each other and just decide whichever one's the most fun. They teach each other. So like at the event I was at, the ceramic bowl making, one of the leaders just like had a better understanding how to make ceramic bowls. So they would just help each other out, teach each other, and so that they could just be better. And then problem solving, they didn't really have any problems. They said the main problem they really had was just promoting the club and getting people to come. So they've just been trying to like get the word out by using flyers and stuff like that. Interesting ideas. I thought that they had some pretty interesting like events that they were gonna hold, some ideas. So I wanted to talk about some. So they have an event, Side A event. So if you know what Side A is, it's like a brewing company here, LeGrand. And basically they're gonna team up with them, and they're gonna do a night where people come in, get drinks, some food, like just socialize, but at the same time do some art as well. They designed logos, so they do screen printing, and I just thought that was really interesting because they had students that came in, and you could design a logo. They also had other clubs that came in too, and they could design a logo, then they screen print on the shirt, and the kids could take it home. They have vending machine idea where they have purchased the vending machine, and right now they're kind of in the works of just like getting it to work because it only takes cash, so they're trying to get it to have like a card option as well. But basically, we're gonna put like art supplies in it. So for students that like want to come to the art club or they want to come to the art class and they don't have supplies, they don't have to like go to the store. They can have like the convenience of just being able to like step outside the door and purchasing whatever tools they need. And then last was the mural, which I thought was really cool. So with the art club, they really just want to get involved with the community and get more people to join the group. So they had the idea of a mural, which they're kind of in the process of. They're just talking to the community and they want to get a mural going. So they're gonna have the event where people can come and like just like create a really cool mural somewhere in like LeGrand. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, that's it.
When I at UCC, they had an old cigarette vending machine that they used to put art in, and so that way artists could get money from what they made.
Great. So Andre, I thought you did a great job here talking about Art Club in terms of good background information, as well as some of the ways that they're doing these events and activities to talk about environment, there's a context in which people are talking and sharing with each other, and there, it takes time to create an environment that feels welcoming, supportive, and I like that you were able to kind of parse that out and explain how this creation of a positive environment and emphasis on collaboration is able to allow people to work together effectively. So I thought you did a really good job here of incorporating that content into the presentation and just teaching us a little bit more about the school. So really great work there. All right.
Let's go, Kai. I sit right. Oh, I got him. Yeah, screw his laptop bag. I take notes on Kai now. Kia. On Kia. Don't worry, I'll roast you during study session later. Azure, I don't think he's up Kai on the team no more.
All right. So Kai, we have you up next. You can click or use the arrows to move between slides. All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, this is my small group observation. I did it on esports team, more specifically the Rocket League team. So the esports team was established in September of 2019, and they're made up of like multiple teams, like such as like the Tekken 7, Overwatch, League of Legends, MTG area, and like many others. And some like teams are a lot bigger and like go on more frequent competition. And the Rocket League team is only made up of like 4 members, and they meet every Thursday from 8 to 10, and they meet in the computer lab at Enlow. And they try to meet face to face as much as possible, but some of them, it's just such a small group, so if one of them can't go, they kind of have to have like a meeting on Discord. And that's where like the coaches just like stream and watch them play while and like give advice. And the reason why I chose this is my roommate is part of it, and also I thought it was like, really interesting that there's a club that's just like dedicated to like playing video games competitively. The meeting, it was there was like little bit of talking, but most of the time they spent their time like playing Rocket League. They talked about like future competition, like who was gonna be able to go, and like the details of it, like where it's gonna be, what like hotels they're gonna be staying at. And then they talked about new uniforms, like updates on that, because they were talking about like they should be getting funding soon for new uniforms and just like the design of it. But very little time of talking about that stuff. Most of the time they're just practicing on strategy while the coach would like stream their game on the monitor on that screen and just like watch them play and give advice and give like game strategy, like what they should do. The meeting, it was very informal, as they just mostly like were like playing. There was like the roles in the group were very loose, and there wasn't like any formal agenda. They just kind of like discussed things that they while they're playing the game, or a little bit before, they might have some things that they had like prepared. To like the coach might have some things that they wanted to discuss about, but most of the time it was just informal. They got to do what they want. They had really good group socialization because it's such a small group, and so they know each other pretty well, and they like hang out outside the group and stuff like that. And it's just a really laid back, relaxed atmosphere. I just mostly like watch them play Rocket League while their coaches are giving them advice about the game. The leadership and management. There was like 2 specific leaders, and one of them was the coach, and he was just like a leader as coach, as he would give like advice and directions to the team members. And then the other group member, he was more of like a laissez-faire leader, kind of like, everyone was there kind of just like they want to do it like for like leisurely, and so they're all like internally motivated, and they wanted to be there, and like all the group members were competent, so like this type of leadership worked well for this kind of group. What I learned is the group members communicate like quite a bit with each other. It's actually like me sitting in and like listening to them talk is like the type of like language they would use was like pretty interesting. And then I also learned that it's pretty hard to like fully understand the group because I just sat in on one meeting, and my roommate told me like a lot of the meetings are a lot different, and it's to understand to like it just opened my eyes up for like the groups I was a part of is a lot different than the groups I've seen, and like how like personalized it is. And then also I figured that I kind of made this assumption that like more smaller groups are like less formal, like they're just like more like, it's hard to be formal when like the group members only like 3 or 4 people. And then also I learned from this is just like how unique groups are, and like how different the meetings can be from like different groups and stuff like that. But yeah, that was
All right, thanks so much, Kai. I really enjoyed the way you were able to point to the more relaxed and informal group structure, some of the ways that impacted their communication. But I also like the really interesting points raised for the end, that there is so much kind of subtext and things going on beneath the surface, like an iceberg that when you join a group, you might not be in on. Some of the technical language, jargon, so on, that, requires a little bit more sort of participation in the group to fully understand. I think it's interesting as you're observing the group to see the way that they develop a kind of vocabulary to discuss the ways of engaging with complex issues. So I thought that worked really well for his presentations. Did a great job of bringing together these 4 ideas. All right. So.
Take a photo for me so I can send it in for our club photos, please.
So last, but certainly not least, we have Kale, who will be rounding out our presentations of the class.
All right, so I decided to do the Chem Club as my small group observation. The Chem Club meets every other Monday in Badgley Hall at 5 p.m. and they're face-to-face meetings with around 15 people, give or take. The Chem Club, they've been the best in the nation for multiple years. They even beat Ivy League schools, which is pretty cool. So they are the best in the nation. In this particular meeting, they talked about their problems, which was money for their upcoming national meeting. The reason I chose the Chem Club was because of Dallas. Dallas is our team's academic advisor and my personal tutor. Dallas is the Chem Club treasurer, and he's also my friend. If you want to say a little bit more about yourself as a treasurer, Dallas.
Yeah, so I'm Dallas. I transferred in here from McLeod Community College. I was not previously part of any Chem Club or any club when I was there. I joined last year during the pandemic, but we still held face-to-face meetings even during the pandemic. We were just 6 feet apart in Hubert Hall, which is where I've only known the Chem Club to be. Apparently, when we were smaller, we were holding it in like just the smaller rooms of Badgley. As far as what I do for my job, all I do is we run fundraiser events year round. Like we sell safety eye equipment, molecule kits, and even lab coats. I bought this one on my own though because I wanted the Carhartt one, for the drip. Anyways, and so what I do is I collect that money. It stays in a tin box until roughly I try to keep it about $300, and I go and take $200 and put it into our savings account with the Student Resource Center here. Other than that, I basically just let our president know how much money we've got, and I don't really have to do anything else with the funds. After that, it comes down to our president Brady and our teacher, our faculty, staff, facilitator. Those two will then handle the funds to buy things. It's pretty much to keep me from embezzling funds. You know how it is.
So the organization of the meeting, it went well. There is always an agenda written up on the board, and that switches from week to week, obviously. The meeting was implicit, so there's rules, but they're unwritten rules, such as bringing food, raising hands, stuff like that. The meeting flowed with ease. There was good active listening that was going on. It seems like when Brady, who's the president, when he's talking, people are nodding heads, some little chit chat off the side talking about it. When discussing the problem, there's a lot of teamwork that was happening within the whole group. And the use of functional leadership was good. They assessed the situation. They understood the problem. They talked about the problem. They implemented a plan for the problem. They made minor adjustments. They wrote a letter that was their how they were going to try to figure out how to solve this problem. So they made minor adjustments to that, and then they set it in stone and sent out the letter.
You want me to hit it for you?
Yeah.
You just let me know.
The management of the meeting. So Brady, he's the president. His leadership traits, he was energetic. He seemed excited to be there. He's intelligent. He knew the materials that he was talking about. He was confident in the problem at hand and confident talking about how they were going to try to solve the problem. And in this meeting, I observed that he uses the Tannenbaum-Schmidt continuum. He uses a participative approach. And so pretty much he stated the problem and kind of opened it up to the group for them to kind of solve as a team instead of just him trying to say something. Then there's Lance, the vice president. His leadership traits is intelligent, responsible, and he's sociable. Zoe's the secretary. She's pretty adaptable. She's the one who's writing down everything that's happening within that certain meeting. She's going with the flow, easy to talk to. And then Dallas, the treasurer, is reliable, intelligent, good. When reaching a solution, they use averaging. They all had somewhat different ideas when Brady opened it up to coming up with a solution. But they met at a middle ground. And they decided that they're going to do a letter. They wrote the letter as a whole group. Everyone contributed, saying what they thought was going to be best, what they thought needed to be in the letter in order to solve their problem. Takeaways from this: functional leadership was huge for the Chem Club. They followed all the steps very well. It seemed like when using functional leadership, it allowed them to come to the problem or come to the solution to the problem that they had. Pretty easily. Active listening for this group makes any meeting run really smooth. The outcome of the meeting was successful, and with further follow-up, the Chem Club did end up getting the money that they needed. Not from the letter that hasn't been.
We haven't even heard a reply from the Kathleen.
Yeah, but they did get more money from DACS directly, so they will be able to attend the national meeting this year. That's it.
Thank you so much for doing our final presentation. Thank you so much for bringing our guests. Thanks for taking the time out to share some of the stuff that you do and help us learn about the club. I really like sure. I really appreciate your use of the Tannenbaum-Schmidt continuum to describe group participation and organization. I thought you did a great job connecting to these ideas in the class and bringing it all together. Let's do one last round of applause for everybody. So I'm going to let you know here in just a sec, but to really do a super fast wrap up, I like to end every class by sort of showing the things that I hope you've taken away. First of all, to improve the ways of communicating in groups. We're in groups for classes, assignments, and things all the time. And I hope you have more of a skill set to work from. Discovering what you bring into groups, your roles, your style, your way of adding to a group that can help you participate, and what makes small group communication work. You've had the chance to see this in groups that and hopefully we can make that continue to go a little bit more smoothly. You all have been a great class, great set of people to work with. I've really appreciated your insights and time. So thank you so much. Best of luck as you're wrapping up everything with your classes. Feel free to pass forward or email me your final attendance for the class and enjoy your spring break.
No, man, you're gonna meet me on the mat. Never take you down.
I'm retired for good, top of, or second place in my conference. Pretty good.
Yeah, I'll see you around.